All right, what's going on, Colts Nation? So we have a quick update here. This came about 2 hours ago, roughly, from Ian Rapoport regarding the Jonathan Taylor situation. Now, if you're not up to speed yet, Jonathan Taylor requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts about a month or so ago. The Colts at that point had said, Jim Irsay, the owner, had said Jonathan Taylor is not being traded, not now, not in October. Right. He was very adamant that Jonathan Taylor was not on the table for being traded. Well, news just came out yesterday that the Colts had granted his request of seeking a trade, and Rapoport kind of came out with a little bit of an update on that. So I wanted to play this video, give my reaction, give a few thoughts. So let's play that now.
The phone has been ringing for sure. The Jonathan Taylor sweepstakes are upon us after weeks and weeks of saying that they would not trade Jonathan Taylor. In fact, those are the words of owner Jim Irsay saying, not now, not in October. They are now open to a deal. And for sure, this is going to be a complicated deal to do. Jonathan Taylor is going to want a new contract along with a trade. And the Indianapolis Colts are going to want as much draft pick compensation as they could possibly get, perhaps even a first rounder. Now, you can come to that in a lot of different ways. You can do 2 twos plus a little more. There are several ways you can do it, but that is what General Manager Chris Ballard wants. My understanding, there is real interest from teams around the NFL. He has received several phone calls already. Time will tell if they're able to do this deal, which again is challenging, but no doubt there are some teams that have looked at their backs, ready for the season, and want maybe one of the best young playmakers in the NFL on their team despite these significant costs. So we will see over the next probably week or so if Taylor is able to get traded.
Might be. All right, so some quick thoughts on that. I mean, obviously, there's still a long way to go for an actual trade to go down for the Colts, but my initial thoughts are I thought it was interesting that Rapoport said in the next week or so, right? I know there was a bit of information about Jonathan Taylor, about that whole thing. So there was a post from Stephen Holder. Just a reminder that next Tuesday, that would be August 29th, is a key date regardless of what happens on the trade front, because final roster cuts are a week from today, from Tuesday. And that means that players on the active/PUP list must either be activated or moved to reserve PUP, which would mean missing for weeks. So that's probably why Rapoport was saying in the next week or so, the Colts need to decide what they're going to do, right? Are they going to take him off PUP? Are they going to trade it? You know, what's going to happen there in that situation, I think is definitely interesting and definitely bears monitoring on that front. I just found that kind of interesting that in the next week or so, we probably will get some news one way or another on what's going to happen, whether the Colts, keep him on the PUP list. He missed the first 4 weeks of the season, whether they get a trade done, right? And I thought it was interesting that he said, it's definitely going to be challenging, which we knew it was going to be challenging for obviously the compensation and then a team having to go pay Jonathan Taylor on top of that. But I thought it was interesting that he said the interest is real. He said there's teams that look at their running backs and they say, hey, we want to upgrade with one of the best young backs in all of football. And we want to do that. And I guess my biggest question is, what's the compensation look like, right? Is there a team out there that's willing to do 2 twos or second and third, something around the McCaffrey trade, ish kind of territory? Like, where do they stand on that? And, are they willing to do that? Are they willing to give that up? And are they willing to trade for him? Those two things, I think definitely the latter definitely is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of these teams, is going and paying Taylor on top. I think if it was just like he already had a contract and they were just going to trade for him, it probably wouldn't be as big of a hurdle, right? So that's kind of the biggest thing. But it's interesting because teams have already been calling Indianapolis. The interest is real. I think that works honestly great in the Colts' favor, right? I think the worst case scenario would be, obviously, if you have a set price, I guess it would be 2 kind of worst case scenarios, one for each scenario. Like the scenario of if you did trade him, you traded him for less than you wanted to trade him. But number 2, if you didn't trade him and he sat out the whole year and then he goes and signs elsewhere and you get nothing for the trade, right? Nothing for Jonathan Taylor and he leaves you. Maybe you get a comp pick, but that's about it, right? And so if the Colts feel confident that they could potentially get something like that, I think that's great news for them because they can sort of use that even more in terms of leverage, right? They don't have to settle for a certain, package or whatever. They could pick if there's legitimately teams out there that are willing to pay like that. I think could potentially be really good for the Colts because it could drive the price up for Jonathan Taylor and the Colts to get the best deal they could. If that is a first rounder, which would obviously be huge for the Colts and having 2 first rounders next year, potentially a package or just adding more talent to this roster. It would be big for Indianapolis to have that, especially if it's a team that's not really like, it could go either way, right? They could be pretty good or they could be not so good. And we saw what happened with Denver, like a team like that has high expectations but falls flat on their face. Like if that would happen, that could be great for Indianapolis to have a really, good pick to pair alongside their own if they're no good this year. So there's a lot of interesting nuances when it comes to the Jonathan Taylor situation, but I just found this update kind of interesting and not really surprising. But like, I think that was the biggest question mark was like, is there actual real interest from teams, or is it more just like teams seeing that and quickly pivoting to another solution? But at least on the surface, from what Rapoport has said here, the interest seems very real for Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts. And so I think hearing this, obviously, like I said, there's still a long way to go, but hearing this makes me think the Colts might actually get a little bit more compensation than maybe some people are thinking. And maybe there is more of a legitimate chance they get some high picks for Jonathan Taylor. Still a guy in his prime, 24 years old. So there's still that factor, a year removed from leading the league in rushing. So there's still a lot to like from Jonathan Taylor on that front. So I think that definitely serves the Colts well and kind of their advantage here of trying to get the best leverage here in forms of compensation to kind of spark the rebuild and help the rebuild even further, spur that along a little bit quicker. If you get a first round pick or a couple seconds, that will do the trick. And that will certainly help you surround Anthony Richardson with the talent and the help that he needs. So I just wanted to share this piece of information that came out from Rapoport. I would love to hear your guys' perspective when it comes to this on the Jonathan Taylor situation, on the real legitimate interest that appears from all these NFL teams. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, I would love to hear your thoughts on what would you be satisfied with if the Colts were able to swing that for Jonathan Taylor? Like, what's the kind of compensation at the bare minimum that you would like? What do you think would be something that would be a pipe dream? I would love to hear. Let me know your thoughts on the Jonathan Taylor situation. Let me know your thoughts on the real interest from these teams, according to Rapoport. All this stuff in between. It'll be interesting to monitor, like I said, how all this stuff goes down in the next week or so. So hope you guys will keep it here as we continue in this Jonathan Taylor saga. I know for me personally, and I know for a lot of people, whether you're a fan or you cover the team, kind of just ready for this whole saga to end one way or another. And unfortunately, if Taylor gets shipped out in this situation, I mean, at least this drama is done and we don't have to talk about it for the rest of the year. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Really do appreciate all the support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. All that good stuff. Turn on the notification bell so you know when we drop more content like this. Let me know your thoughts again, guys, like I said. And thank you. And as always, guys, go Colts.